Shabbat Shalom. How are you all doing? You guys, I know I'm supposed to be here for this video. This is Morah Channah, and I am going to be sharing to you today about the feast days and what those feast days are about and how we should be remembering, recalling them, and memorializing them each and every year. We're supposed to be doing that. Will I make this a huge commandment for you? No, because honestly, it was not necessarily a commandment. He just encourages us to remember and to recall these things. But even though we're going to go into depth today a little bit about the feast days, and I got a resource for you in a book that you can go purchase outside of reading the Bible if you want to get a little bit more insight into the feast days. But understand, when we do these feast days, sorry, I hope you can hear me. I had my hand over the mic. But understand, when we do these feast days, what they actually mean. They're just like when you go into a Christian church or even a Hebraic church. You got to understand what communion really is. You know, some people take communion and have no clue what communion really is. That was a bloodshed that was done. Like somebody actually died. We're just remembering and drinking the blood. That's a ritual. But yet, people want to talk against and say, well, they want to pick and choose who's against the Torah and who's not. Because technically, the Torah tells us not to drink ye of the blood. But yet, here are Christians drinking ye of the blood. And even Hebraic people, they're symbolizing. It might not be actual blood, but you're still symbolizing that. So what that tells you? You're still drinking ye of the blood in what the Most High said not to do. My little boy in the background. Come on, man. Mommy's trying to teach it now. He's like, what are you doing? Come on, baby. But here we at Free Culture Assembly. We're going to teach you the things. But I just want you to understand, when you do want to memorialize these things, understand the reality. You know, I have a big metamorpho, or a new view on who the Most High is. Mm-hmm. And I have a new view on what the feast days are all about and why we memorialize those things. And and then the question to me would be, is it necessary to memorialize those? Now, we choose to memorialize it, but is it necessary? Because last year on the Day of Atonement, some things happened to me. Like literally. And I was keeping the Torah. I was following the laws all the way to the T. I was doing those things, and yet I was still caught. Right? So we can't say if you follow the laws, you're safe. That's a lie, in my opinion. Because I was following the laws like I was supposed to, and still got caught. Doing nothing. Didn't even do anything. You see what I'm saying? But I'm going to teach you here at Free Culture Assembly to remain free. That's why here we don't require you to wear head wraps. We don't care about you wearing makeup, because clearly I don't have a head wrap on today, and I have on makeup today. But I want you all to remain free. But we're going to just look and observe. See, that's why I tell y'all, my life that I live is different from what I say about the Torah, because we're just merely observing it. Because if you're not careful, you're going to run into some things. You're going to run into some things playing with the Torah. And in the wrong hands, the Torah can be misconstrued. And in the wrong hands, the Torah can be used as a weapon. The Torah can be used as so many things. Right? So, you got to be very careful. But let's go over the feast days. So where we're going to start, I have a Tanakh here. I got this from Art Scroll. I have a Tanakh. And we're going to read, take your Tanakh out. We're going to read out Leviticus chapter 23. And then I have a second book here that I'm going to go over this with you. This talks about the feast days, feast fasts, and appointed times of the year. This is by Zebulon Ben Lewis Hedeqyah. Okay? And I think you can get this off of Amazon, if I'm not mistaken. But let's go over. We're going to read simply. That's all we're going to do. We simply are just going to read Leviticus chapter 23. So let's read it. It says, now here it uses Hashem. Now, like I said, if you don't like the word or reading that your Tanakh says, buy you a different Tanakh that you resonate with. Here I don't care if it says Elohim or Hashem. It's all the same. All right, that's my opinion. But let's read. It says, Hashem spoke to Moses, saying, speak to the children of Israel and say to them, Hashem's appointed festivals that you are to designate as holy convocations. These, give me this before you drop this. Sorry, my little boy trying to take my water. Okay, you can hold it. Okay, hold it. I'll just make sure it wasn't open. Let's start over. I'm sorry. It says, Hashem spoke to Moses, saying, speak to the children of Israel and say to them, Hashem's appointed festivals that you are to designate as holy convocations. These are my appointed festivals. For 6 days, labor may be done. And the seventh day is a day of complete rest. A holy convocation, you shall not do any work. It is a Sabbath for Hashem in all your dwelling places. These are the appointed festivals of Hashem, the holy convocations, which you shall designate in their appropriate time. In the first month, on the 14th of the month, in the afternoon, is the time of the Pesach offering to Hashem. And on the 15th day of this month is the festival of Masot to Hashem. You shall eat Masot for a 7-day period. On the first day, there shall be a holy convocation for you. You shall do no laborious work. You shall bring a fire offering to Hashem for a 7-day period. On the 7th day shall be a holy convocation. You shall not do no laborious work. Hashem spoke to Moses, saying, speak to the children of Israel and say to them, when you shall enter into the land that I give you, and you reap its harvest, you shall bring an omer from your first harvest to the Kohen. He shall wave the omer before Hashem to gain favor for you. On the morrow of rest day of the Kohen shall wave it. On the day you wave the omer, you shall perform the service of an unblemished lamb in his first year as a burnt offering of Hashem to Hashem. Its meal offering shall be 2/10 ephah of fine flour mixed with oil, a fire offering to Hashem, a satisfying aroma, and its libation shall be wine and a quarter hin. You shall not eat bread or roasted kernels or plump kernels until this very day, until you bring the offering of your God. It is an eternal decree for your generations in all your dwelling places. You shall count for yourselves from the morrow of the rest day, from the day when you bring the omer of the waving. 7 weeks they shall be, and you shall offer a new meal offering to Hashem. From your dwelling places you shall bring bread that shall be waved, 2 loaves made of 2/10 ephah. They shall be fine flour. They shall be baked leaven, first offerings to Hashem. With the bread you shall offer 7 unblemished lambs in their first year, 1 young bull and 2 rams. They shall be a burnt offering to Hashem, with their meal offering and their libations, a fire offering, a satisfying aroma to Hashem. You shall make 1 he-goat as a sin offering, and 2 lambs in their first year as a feast peace offering. The Kohen shall wave them upon the first offering breads as a wave service before Hashem upon the 2 sheep. They shall be holy for Hashem and for the Kohen. You shall convoke on this very day. There shall be a holy convocation for yourselves. You shall do no laborious work. It is an eternal decree in your dwelling places for your generations. When you reap the harvest of your land, you shall not remove completely the corners of your field as you reap, and you shall not gather the gleanings of your harvest. For the poor and the proselyte shall you leave them. I am Hashem your God. Hashem spoke to Moses, saying, speak to the children of Israel, saying, in the 7th month, on the 1st of the month, there shall be a rest day for you, a remembrance with shofar blasts, a holy convocation. You shall not do any laborious work, and you shall offer a fire offering to Hashem. Hashem spoke to Moses, saying, "But on the 10th day of the 7th month, it is the day of atonement. There shall be a holy convocation for you, and you shall afflict yourselves. You shall offer a fire offering to Hashem. You shall not do any work on this very day, for it is the day of atonement, to provide you atonement before Hashem your God. For any soul who will not be afflicted on this very day will be cut off from his people. And any soul," it says, wait, let's read back. It says, "For any soul who will not be afflicted on this very day will be cut off from his people. And any soul who will do any work on this very day, I will destroy the soul." Now, this is the Most High speaking, so it's very important to understand who the Most High really is. It says, "And any soul who will do any work on this very day, I will destroy that soul from among its people." That's why I said, so I say, let's observe the Torah. Because if you do like you think you're going to do, you're going to end up dying. That's the reality that I have experienced from observing the Torah. You can get into some trouble with it. But let's continue to read. It says, "You shall not do any work." And I'm not holding back my words. "You shall not do any work. It is an eternal decree throughout your generations in all your dwelling places. It is a day of complete rest for you, and you shall afflict yourselves on the 9th of the month in the evening. From evening to evening shall you rest on your rest day." Hashem spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to the children of Israel, saying, on the 15th day of the 7th month is the festival of Sukkot, a 7-day period for Hashem. On the first day is the holy convocation. You shall not do any laborious work. For a 7-day period you shall offer a fire offering to Hashem. On the 8th day there shall be a holy convocation for you, and you shall offer a fire offering to Hashem. It is an assembly. You shall not do any laborious work. These are the appointed festivals of Hashem, that you shall proclaim as holy convocations, to offer a fire offering to Hashem, a burnt offering and its meal of offering, a feast offering is a libation, each day's requirement on its day, aside from Hashem's Sabbaths, and aside from your gifts, aside from all your vows, and aside from all your free will offers, which you will present to Hashem. But on the 15th day of the 7th month, when you gather in the crop of the land, you shall celebrate Hashem's festival for a 7-day period. The first day is a rest day, and the 8th day is a rest day. You shall take for yourselves on the first day the fruit of a citron tree, the branches of date palms, twigs of a plaited tree, and a brook willows, and you shall rejoice before Hashem, your God, for a 7-day period. You shall celebrate it as a festival for Hashem, a 7-day period in the year, an eternal decree for your generations. In the 7th month shall you to celebrate it. You shall dwell in the booths for a 7-day period. Every native in Israel shall dwell in booths, so that your generations will know that I caused the children of Israel to dwell in booths when I took them from the land of Egypt. I am Hashem your God. And Moses declared the appointed festivals of Hashem to the children of Israel. So that is, you want to go back and read it. I'm not going to break that down. I'm not about to teach you those things. I'm just going to simply go over it. If you want to go back over it, you can slow yourself down and look at it in depth. Look at it in the Hebrew. Look at it however you want to look at it. But you can find it in Leviticus chapter 23. That is part of, or if you want to say it in Hebrew, it's Vayikra 23. And you can go back and read that yourselves. Now, we're going to talk about each feast a little bit. And then we're going to say shalom, and I'm going to let y'all go. So this is another book. You can go in depth. This is about feast, fast, and appointed times. So the appointed times, when you go to a Hebrew community church, you hear about the feast days. You will hear about or they'll say feast days, or they'll say appointed time, or you will hear the Moedim. That all means the same thing. So let's go into the first one, which I don't think it's first. Depends on how you look at it. But I guess it is first. But you have the Yom Teruah, which is the day of blasting, or they call it the day of trumpets. This is a day where basically it's like a high praise day, maybe after war, maybe after, some kind of spiritual war or whatever. This is like just a day of blasting, a day of celebration, a victory day, because you have won and all this stuff. What's up, baby? You have won, you have the victory. So it's like a good gathering to just shout. There's no requirements for this day. It's just a good day to get together to memorialize it, to recall it, to remember it. Zakar means to remember or to recall. But you can, like I said, it's just a day of worship. It's just a day of high praise after a battle has been won. Typically, that's what this is about. If you did not know, it's about war. It can be something about war. You know, that's the praise because you got the victory over the war and you won. So that, just know that. So that's that. And then you got Pesach, which is Passover, which basically at Pesach, this is usually around springtime. Usually around springtime, you have Pesach, which is basically it's one day, and they usually is in the month of what they call Abib, which is the first month of the first of the year. And Hebrew calendar is very different from the calendar that we use every day. The Greco is different from the Greco-Roman calendar. So feast days are set differently. They're calculated differently. Now you got the Jews, like the Ashkenazi. I have to say this because this is the only way I can distinguish them. But the Ashkenazi Jews that are actually in the land of Israel, they go over one type of calendar every year, and it's set for like days. You can Google it, and it's set. Technically, that's not healthy because the earth changes, the moon changes. Then it depends. That's where it gets tricky. That's why I tell people, wherever you're going, wherever assembly you're attending, just follow what they have. You know, don't get upset because it's not on a certain day. At the end of the day, we're just doing the best we can. So don't be worried about that. You just want to memorialize it and recall it every year. So if you are doing the Ashkenazi Jew calendar, that's fine. But just know that calendar is not as accurate because there is a way. What's up, baby? Because there is a way that you can actually calculate the feast days. You actually can by using the spring equinox, by using the winter solstice, by using mostly I think they use Orion. Actually, Orion is coming in the sky. I saw it on the news recently. Or you can take your telescopes and go, and I forgot what day it's supposed to come out, but if it hasn't already. But the star Orion, and that pattern is out in the sky. If you got a telescope, go out there and observe it. But yes, mainly they use Orion because it's in a certain spot every year. If you watch Ron Shields, he got videos about this type of stuff. But that gets into astrology. That gets into that, and some people don't like to get into that. But I'm just telling you, if you actually want to calculate it correctly, and then you're looking at things in the sky. You're looking at the phases of the moon, a certain phase of the moon, which typically we're supposed to be looking at the full moon, but you have people that's following the crescent and the dark moon. It just get all messy, okay? But if you're actually going to actually calculate it, you want to use the full moon. That's the moon you want to use. If you're actually going to technically break it down and calculate it. But if you're not into that, and like I said, just make it easy. Whatever assembly you are going to, follow those. Whatever they got, the Morah or the Morah has going there, and you'll be fine. But there is a way you can calculate it if you want to learn. Like I said, you can go follow Ron Shields here on YouTube, and he has videos about that. You have to scroll because it's been decades since he's done it. But you can scroll and actually find it. But anyway, so that's that. So that was about Passover. So now Passover has a couple of requirements. So it's just not something you just celebrate like Yom Teruah. So basically, this is symbolizing the first of the month, the first moon, along with, like I said, it occurs in the springtime, and it requires you to eat lamb and unleavened bread. And that lamb is the symbolization of a bloodshed. You know, This past Pesach, this was my last Pesach that I've done. It hit differently. And then when you actually take the blood of the lamb and wipe it across the front door so nothing comes, you can ward things away and nothing comes up. This is a ritual, by the way, but this is the way you do it. And you actually put the blood from the lamb on the doorpost. That hit different this year for me. And many know why. But that hit very differently. I love to eat lamb. I still do. I ain't got nothing to do with the lamb. But I know what that symbolizes on Pesach. That's heavy. I looked at that blood very differently this past Pesach. So you just got to know what you're doing when you're doing it. You just understand that it may not be your blood, but it's somebody else's blood that was shed. So just understand that. But anyway, that's Pesach for you. But it's supposed to mean to pass over, to overcome something. So that's Pesach. Then Pesach is one day, then you go into unleavened bread. Now, unleavened bread, you get into, I think it's like 7 or 8 days, where you're not supposed to consume yeast. You're supposed to get all the yeast out your house. Like, you literally supposed to just throw it all, not go take it to your garage, not go take it to your shed or to your job. You actually supposed to get rid of all the yeast out of your household. Clean your house. It's like spring cleaning, honestly. That's what it is. But here's the kicker, though. Why do we clean this stuff out every year just to bring the stuff back into the house? That's a food for thought. That's a food for thought. But anyway, let's keep going. So that's Pesach. Unleavened bread. Then you get into, people skip over this, the first fruits. Or you're supposed to bring the first fruits of your land. Like, if you actually have land to bring first fruits, that's different. If you don't, then there's no way no way you can memorialize that, right? So then that's that. And then, but think about these things as physical things that you do, but it's also a spiritual meaning behind it, because these are rituals that you are actually performing when you are doing these. And actually with Pesach, you're supposed to get, if you're going to do it, you're supposed to get a lamb that's unblemished, young male, and it's actually supposed to be butchered on that day. Yes, it's supposed to. But most of us don't. Most of us are going to Publix to go get our lamb, right? So that's why I said, just understand what you're doing. It may look fun because everybody's laughing and giggling together, but understand there was bloodshed, a real bloodshed that someone had to endure. So y'all think about, y'all call it holidays, but what is Pesach? Pesach is similar to a holiday. Pesach is similar to Thanksgiving, in my opinion. The Thanksgiving and the Pilgrims, they were memorializing a bloodshed. Pesach is memorializing a bloodshed. That's the reality. Understand what you're doing. With all that getting understanding. Just know that you're going against the holidays, but what we're doing ain't no different from the holidays. That's why I just celebrate it all. Because what we gonna do? What we gonna do? What's up, baby girl? Baby boy. But anyway, let me keep going. So I gotta hurry up and get off this here phone. So that's unleavened bread. That's Pesach. And then we got, what you mean? Feast of Weeks. Feast of Weeks, also known as the Feast of Harvest. Oh, that's the first fruits feast. Hey, what you need, man? Hold on, man. He want mommy's attention now. Here, hold on to this. I'm finna hurry up because obviously it's time for me to get off because Brave Boy is having a fit. But it says, this is the appreciation, giving thanks and gratitude for the Most High for the completion of the harvest season. First fruits and feast day of joyfulness and appreciation. That's what this is about. And then you got Chag Sukkot, they say Chag Semiach Sukkot, or however they say it. But this is the Feast of Booths. Basically, you dwell in tents. They also call it the Feast of Tabernacles, where the Most High tabernacled amongst us. And that's real. The Most High tabernacles amongst us. Yeah. But anyway, hold on, man. Hold this. And it's basically you dwell in booths on that day, but it was a representation of how the people exited the land of Egypt. They was out of captivity, and they won from Pharaoh, and they was loosed from Pharaoh to go and to dwell in the wilderness, but they were free. And because they were free, then they were allowed to do the Feast of Sukkot. That's one of the good stories that I like, because they won the, like I said, all this is about battling. They won the battle. Moses rose the Red Sea, and Pharaoh and all his people fell in the Red Sea. They died. So that was a bloodshed. And then they was able to go and celebrate the bloodshed. You see what I'm saying? Hold on, maybe. But they was able to go and celebrate the bloodshed after the being in the land of Egypt, because they was free. They was out of captivity. That's why I look at things and people say, you still in captivity. I'm not in captivity. You are not in captivity. The bloodshed has already been done. It's already done. Stop saying there's another bloodshed on top of bloodshed on top of bloodshed. Everybody just killing people. But then the Torah says, thou shalt not kill, right? And people stealing, and the Torah says, thou shalt not steal. You see what I'm saying? It's almost like it contradicts itself, right? But that's why I'm telling you, when you follow these things, understand what you are doing. So anyway, those are the feast days. I pray you all go back, because I'm not going to depth, but y'all can go back, read it in the book of Leviticus, look it up yourselves, do your own homework. But just know, it is real. And it's somebody's bloodshed that we are celebrating. So it is not just a come together to have a good time day. Not for me, it's not. It's a whole nother meaning for me. Whole nother level. Whole nother deeper understanding of what the feast days really means. But I love y'all. We are here at Morah Channah is here at Free Culture Assembly. If you have any questions, please feel free to email us at freecultureassembly@gmail.com. And we look forward to seeing you again soon. Shalom.